Hello everyone, welcome to another build guide, and as promised, I'm bringing you my version of the Auto Bomber. This particular build is different to other Auto Bombers because it doesn't use Smite and it uses Rebuke in order to get crazy amounts of tankiness. And yeah, this is how it plays. We are at 489 corruption. Let's take random modifier. I'm gonna show some gameplay. So basically we're speccing ORB to be all of our damage. We have Sigils for some armor. We have Anomaly for crit chance. And you just run around. You don't need Smite or anything. You are incredibly tanky. You have really high crit chance with ORB. We're close to 70 right now. You can see there. If I use Anomaly, we're at 69. Obviously, if you want a map, and you want to go faster, you can use what is it called? You can use Lunge or Shield Rush or whatever, and then when you switch to Arena, you can respec into Rebuke if that's what you want to do. We're gonna see some of the single target damage that you can do. That's it. You get a shit ton of attack speed. You could just like also run, just pull all the map, right? Make everything follow you like this. And now that you have everyone following you, you go your Rebuke to get your protections, and you just go to town and everything will just explode. You get like 200% movement speed. And yeah, that's the build. My orbs are hitting the dummy for like 200k with the volatile buff on damage taken. And yeah, this build overall is turbo tanky, and it can push high as fuck. I pushed it yesterday to like 550 waves or something without crit avoidance because I'm still working on the character, and without cold resistance. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. Things about this build, obviously, you need to get a lot of orbs. So your orbs do a lot of damage, you get your sigils going. Sigils will give you your armor, you can see, and with the Rebuke buff, that can, by the way, stack. You can see it keeps up there, and you can stack it multiple times. You get crazy amounts of armor. And yeah, you get your lifesteal, you get your damage, and you go to town, and you will do a lot of damage, you will see. You will see the 200k there. 190. Etc. So you do a shit ton of damage. Okay, there's different versions to this build in terms of gearing. Right now I'm kind of messing around with the new relic, Vessel of Strife. So I'm building a bit of health regen and stuff, because my health regen gives me ward. And I don't know, I just thought it was cool, so I was messing around with it. You don't need this. So again, you can build around it. Build health regen, get health regen on your sigils and so on. Don't take this. But I would say this is more of like an advanced setup, and while you can use it, and I think it will be really good with really good gear, we're gonna go over the principles of the build on a more basically kind of like straight up planner that you can just play no matter what. Alright, different things that we do to other Auto Bomber builds. First thing, we use a shield, okay, important, and we use a rune dagger. Why am I using a rune dagger? I'm using a rune dagger because it comes with adaptive spell damage, and it comes with flat crit chance. The adaptive spell damage is not as high as a wand, it's not as high as a scepter, but the crit chance, in my opinion, is crazy value. Normally when you play with Smite, you don't need the crit chance, because Smite has 10% base crit chance on its tree. But obviously we're not using Smite, so crit chance becomes, flat crit chance is really valuable. What other things are we using? We're using Prismatic Gaze. Why are we using Prismatic Gaze? For the same reason. 4% base crit chance with the increase and the less elemental damage taken, which synergizes, you will see, with things like Rebuke. Okay. We're speccing, obviously, our abilities slightly different. Let's take a look at our skills. So the first one is Rebuke. Rebuke is pretty straightforward. You grab all the duration, you grab all the health regen, well, the 2 points of health regen that you need, you take the elemental damage taken, the armor, and the buff staying up for long. This is the most important part of the build, and this is what will make you absolutely immortal. And if you don't run Rebuke in an auto bomber build, your EHP is probably gonna be like around the 10,000s, right? With this build that I'm running, my current EHP is 600,000. We can do a little look at how the EHP works on this, but basically this is how it works, right? When you're playing, the only reason it works is because how ORB works. You can see I have ORB, right? I have ORB, and ORB does damage, right? And the best part is if I'm casting orbs and I Rebuke, ORB's still doing damage, right? So you offset the part of Rebuke making you immobile with the fact that your orbs are still going on. So basically how you play the build is you run around, you start using volatile reversals. You can also cancel out of Rebuke with volatile reversal. So you can, you know, if you're sitting on a pool of AoE, you can just reversal out of it, right? Like you go, you do your rebuking, you get your buff, and then boom, and you're out of it, right? And you're out of the pool. You know, that's how you play basically. You go around, get your rebuke buff, go around, and then by the time your rebuke buff is gone, you have it again. And you chain these buffs, and you are absolutely immortal. Obviously, we have way more layers also of damage reduction, and that's why it gets so crazy in terms of EHP. Let's keep looking. So that is Rebuke, pretty straightforward. Then we have Volatile Reversal. Volatile Reversal, again, we don't really benefit from the cast speed, because we have a lot of cast speed anyway, and we're limited to the cooldown of Orb, which right now for me is 1.1 seconds. So we get the movement speed. This, when we're playing in Arena, when we're doing like, you know, forges, etc., when we're killing bosses, this will, again, ramp or movement speed up to 200%. And while obviously you can't really use this while mapping, because it will set you backwards, you could always, like, again, change Rebuke while you're mapping and get Shield Rush or Launch or whatever to go fast. I think, personally, from my experience playing this build, while it looks like slow, which it is when mapping, it is slow and steady, right? It's like a Tortoise. So yes, you're not zooming around the map, but there is no fucking way you have to stop for anything. So it's one of, like, I feel like there's a lot of builds where you're like really flashy and you go really fast, right? And you go pim, 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 and then you get to the end of the map, and then you gotta start juking, you gotta start positioning. Nah. With this build, you just walk in a straight line like a fucking tortoise, like a fucking tractor, and you don't have to look at enemies, you don't have to do anything. You just walk in a straight line, you don't have to aim. All you do is you smork into enemies. And that's it. It's a really engaging playstyle, as you can see. Notice my sarcasm. Again, I'm not a fan of builds like this, but I'm making it just to, you know, maybe, hopefully it gets nerfed. So again, Volatile Reversal gives us most of our single target, by the way, because this buff can stack multiple times. So this will probably get fixed eventually. But even if it's just 30%, it would be really good. Again, Anomaly, pretty straightforward. We get our crit chance, we get our cooldown recoveries for Orb. We get the bubble on us, blah, blah, blah. If you had +2 Anomaly on your helmet, I would get these 4 points, right? If you manage to get a +4 on your Prismatic Gaze, which, you know, for example, my Prismatic Gaze actually has a legendary potential, that's what I would try to do, right? I would try to get plus Anomaly, so I could get these 4 points here. Obviously, this is really, really endgame goals that most likely no one's gonna really see, right? But that should be your goal. Again, you could shift a couple points from crit or cooldown into leech if you feel like you want even more survivability, which you don't need. Sigils, this would be the setup for Sigils if you're doing the Void version with no ward, right? So basically you grab this for the extra damage, the Void damage, so you get a shit ton of damage. If you were using the vessel, like this item that gives you ward, right, which can give you Like again, before I had Ravenous Void, I was using these gloves, right? That we dropped yesterday, by the way. I had like 600 health regen, and you can see with 600 health regen, we can get up to like 2.8k worth on top of our HP, and all of this benefits from our mitigations. So again, it's actually not a joke. Pretty good, but I think Ravenous Void is overall just better, so I'm probably gonna go off this. Regardless, let's keep talking. Again, if you were using that, then you grab this and you don't grab this, because this will double the regions you get from Sigils, and this completely takes off the region. And so again, you have those two options. This would be the more standard setup. And then for Orb, which is the big one, we go for full fucking damage, baby. We got all the damage on extinction. We don't grab all of this Dark Torrent bullshit. We don't grab any of this like Void Rift stuff, because this is really good for clearing trash, you know, when the explosions are going on. But this damage will be turbo small for like single target, and that's why those builds run Smite. Because though, like if you run this, you don't have single target with Orb. With this, you have everything. Now, downsides. You're gonna have to spec into Orb Master. And obviously, you know, you're casting an orb every second, so it can get pretty clutter steppy. But it's OP, so fuck it. You could auto cast it if you really want. I don't recommend auto casting because, again, you know, maybe you wanna actually cast a rebuke or something, and then you're casting and it cancels your rebuke or whatever. You gotta be careful with things like that, right? Like you gotta be careful, like maybe you're running around and you know you cast orb and then you stop on top of a poison pool and you get fucked, right? Like be careful with auto casting. I don't think it's a good habit to have in this game, unless the ability is instant cast and it doesn't have a mana cost. But you know, just so you guys know. And then we go for passives. You know, passives pretty straightforward. We go for strength and resistances. Again, even though we're not scaling strength, strength will be armor for us, and armor makes us immortal, and that's really good. Vitality, obviously great, and if you're doing the health regen version, even better, right? Because you double dip from this, and vitality also gives you some regen. Damage reduction from armor clad, absolutely mandatory on every sentinel build. Then for paladin, we get enough points on resistances and attunement. We actually mana is actually pretty good on this build because we are using a lot of orbs and stuff, so having a good mana pool is pretty decent. So we can cast our 4 sigils in a row or whatever without going right? And again, we got the adaptive spell damage while wielding a shield. This is the reason we go shield also instead of going like a 200 staff or whatever. You basically are gonna do the same damage with a shield because of this node in paladin. And not to mention, you get Bastion, which is the best item in the game, with Ravenous Void, which is another great item. So yeah, you'll be immortal. Again, this last point you can put whenever. I put it on health because why the hell no. And then for Void Knight, it's pretty straightforward. You grab World Eater for the Void Leech for sustain, all your resistances as always, all your flat damage. I don't think these points are really high value, it's only 2 damage per point. So I'd rather put my points into more Vitality, into the Echoes, into the extra Echo, into all the movement speed. Again, this build is pretty slow, so the movement speed actually helps, and you don't have a lot of sources of increased damage, so it's actually pretty valuable. Again, you can grab the Vitality and Health, it's just mandatory pretty much. And again, these extra points that you have left, these 7 points that you have left, 8 points, whatever, you can put pretty much whatever you want. I've been playing around with Void Aegis. Normally, Void Aegis is not that good, because it only defends like 100 damage. But the thing is, like with this build, you're never gonna be getting hit by 100 damage, right? Again, if we go to my stream from yesterday, when I pushed this character, right, and we just go to my bot, and I show you guys this fucking monstrosity in action, right? Let's make sure it doesn't have audio. Hey, we drop Ravenous Void, pretty poke, you know. I can show you the damage we take in arena and stuff. Let's see. Did we do? Is this the arena we did? I think I was playing different builds here. Where did I do the run? Wave 3. Okay, wave 3. 180. No. Okay, let me find this just so you guys can see it. I should probably have this ready. Okay, we're at wave 530, And you can see that at wave 530, I'm getting hit for like, if I'm rebuking, I'm getting hit from like 80, right? At those really high waves. And I don't really have my Sigils up, so I'm not even playing properly, right? So again, what this means is that Void Aegis might actually have really good value, just because you don't get hit by that much because you're so tanky, right? You can see, like, I'm at wave 500, and again, I'm not even taking damage. Like, I'm not even taking damage. This is why I think this build is better. I don't take damage, and I do a shit ton of damage. Well, I took damage there because I missed time, I think, but you know what I mean. Like, you're absolutely absurd tanky. You can see there I use rebuke. I took no, I didn't even lose my ward, right? You just look at it. It's like absurd how tanky you get. So yeah, that's pretty much the build, I would say. These points are kind of optional. You could put them into more damage. You could put them into maybe more strength. Maybe you like a bit more echoes. I think these points honestly are not really that valuable because we don't need the attack speed, and we don't really scale time rot or anything like that. So 10 points for this seems, I don't think we need it at all. We're one-shotting everything. So this is good value though for just 1 point. This is good value, and this is good value too because it's 10% for 5 points. That's pretty good. So again, really, I mean, this build is just straight up OP. Again, for gear, you know, you have the planner, but you basically build HP everywhere, vitality everywhere, crit chance whatever you can, increase void damage whatever you can, some mana regen here and there, so you have base mana regen, so you don't go And yeah, you can see right now it only says you have 1.4 armor, but obviously that's not true because you have the Sigils armor and the Rebuke armor. Again, you can see that right now my character is like at 1.1. But you know, if I use my Sigils, right, and I use my Rebuke, you can see you're gonna be close to 60% armor, and you can keep this buff up all the time. And not only you can keep it up, but you can double stack it. So yeah, absolutely insane. Again, we were looking at the EHPs yesterday on the video. Just to give you a brief summary of how this works, basically, if you go to the EHP, right now we have like you will have like basically 3,700 life, maybe 4,000 with good gear, most likely, right? Even without the ward build, right? That right now we have 1,000 ward, whatever. You're gonna have like 6,000 armor. Your endurance is not gonna be that high, but whatever. Let's just say you have 800 with 60, right? Endurance is not that important on this build. And you know, then you have the 10% of armor clad, right? The 14% on Bastion nearby. Then you got the 25 of Ravenous Void. Then you get the 80% of fucking what's his name, of Rebuke that you have to time. And on top of that, you know, versus elemental damage, you know, we have the 60% of Rebuke. We have the 10% of prismatic gaze. We have the obviously the block chance that we didn't even put into account. You're gonna have 2,000 block chance, 2,000 block effectiveness. Sorry, with 100% block chance, and you can just see that these EHPs are just going. Well, this is the build. I hope you enjoy it. There's different ways you can go about your idols. You can go for vitality with shred, vitality with slow. One of these is really important. You can get your resistances there. Inspiration is pretty good for the cooldown, 20% cooldown, so you get even more orbs. You could go for idols that have increased void damage when a skill echoes. You could go for block effectiveness. You can do whatever you want. Again, if you don't have a Ravenous Void, you could just go for normal gloves with hybrid HP and regen or whatever. Like, look at the gloves I was using previously, right? I was just using health regen and that's it, pretty much. So again, really OP build. I think this build can probably push forever. Again, keep in mind I pushed basically top of the ladder without crit avoidance and without cold rest, and yeah, I don't even know, and I don't even have a legendary Bastion or anything yet, right? So again, if you get a legendary Bastion and you put fucking You know, like a block effectiveness in there, less damage taken on block. You start getting your legendaries, and obviously, by the way, all of this EHP, it's doubled, right? Because you have 2 lives thanks to Aurora. Yeah, you're not dying with this build, basically. So I hope you guys liked it. Again, I normally don't play builds like this because I just think there's no point, because I think they're just so OP that they're obviously gonna get fixed eventually. And if they don't get fixed, the game will fail. So, because the balance will be a shit show. So again, but I thought to myself, hey, you know what? I've been playing shit builds and things that I consider balanced and ethical for like 2 years. I'm gonna show people that, hey, I can play these stupid ass builds too. And here's my version. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and bye bye. Also, I'll be on a vacation from the 30th of December to the 13th, 14th of January. So I'm not gone, I'm not dead, I'm just in vacation, okay? So I'll see you guys there. Bye bye, and Happy New Year, boys.